Mr. Mayor, it's time.
I'd like to call this regular meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for an invocation by Pastor Mitch Nelson of Faith Ministries Church. The pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor, members of the council, thank you for having me here this evening. We got audience. And get an attitude of prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you we come before you with gratitude. We thank you for being a God who loves us and is with us in this very room. You never leave us nor forsake us. Your grace has brought us safe thus far, and your grace will lead us home. We thank you for making each of us in this room, each person we meet, every citizen of this city, in your own image with dignity and infinite worth. We thank you, Lord, for the calling you have given every one of us here to be good stewards of your creation, to love our neighbors as ourselves. I thank you tonight, God, for these servants, our mayor, our city manager, our city staff, and our city council members. I give thanks for the way of service they have chosen to take up on behalf of all of us here. We all come to this room tonight as complex humans carrying burdens, and we know that you love us and give us peace. We remember the Apostle Paul writing to Corinthians, his teachings to those in authority are first and foremost to your servants, that honoring you and doing your will is their highest purpose. We pray tonight for wisdom and strength, for courage to do what is right and good for all citizens. May we put the interests of others above our own. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for this council, our mayor and our staff, first responders, and all those who work to make this place we call home such a wonderful city. In the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Mitch. If I could please ask everyone to please remain standing for a moment of silence. We had, unfortunately, a longtime resident of our community, the grandfather of our fire chief, Loma Lee. His grandfather, Cuauhtemoc, as most of us know, is Cati Leon. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Item number 4, roll call, please.
Mayor Donald Hewish,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tempore Margaret Morales, Councilmember Mitch Lindeman,
Here.
Councilmember Dania Acosta,
Present.
Councilmember Ray Shelton,
Present.
Councilmember Michael Valdenegro,
Present.
Councilmember Jose Grijalva,
Here.
City Manager Ana Urquijo,
Present.
City Attorney Dennis Fitzgibbons,
Present.
City Treasurer Luis Pedrosa,
Present. Thank you. Item number 5A, Purple Heart Day Observance Proclamation. Whereas the Purple Heart is a symbol of the courage, sacrifice, and unwavering dedication demonstrated by members of the United States Armed Forces who have been wounded or killed in combat. And whereas the Purple Heart has been a revered and distinguished military decoration, embodying the selflessness and bravery exhibited by our nation's service members in the face of adversity. And whereas Purple Heart Day is an observance that commemorates the creation of the Purple Heart Medal, originally designated as a badge of merit and was awarded by President George Washington in 1782. And whereas the city of Douglas has had numerous residents make the ultimate sacrifice in world wars and conflicts, and has many veterans who have been awarded the Purple Heart for wounds received in combat. And whereas there have been 1.8 million Purple Hearts awarded over the years, and Purple Heart Day was first observed on August 7th, 2014, and has been observed every year since. Purple Heart Day is dedicated to honoring our nation's many military personnel, heroes, and service members who have made such important sacrifices for our country. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Donald C. Hewish, Mayor, on behalf of the City of Douglas Council, do hereby proclaim August 7th, 2023 as Purple Heart Day in the city of Douglas, Arizona, and encourage all citizens to take time to reflect on the bravery of all veterans who have fought for the United States of America, and to ensure that their courage is never forgotten. By way of information, in our little community, we have had 93 men that have been killed in action during World War II, to include two of my relatives. We have with us this evening Mr. Frank Palma, who is a Purple Heart recipient. Him, along with Hector Leon and Philip Bernal, if you please come forward and accept this proclamation on behalf of the Wall of Faces. And join us in a photo with the council, if we could, please. Mr. Bernal.
Stand behalf of all the Douglas Purple Heart recipients. We want to thank the mayor, the council, and the city of Douglas for all the support that they've provided to us. And I hope we continue that support.
Item number 5B, a proclamation regarding Gib Dawson Day. Whereas Gib Dawson was an outstanding and legendary athlete at the Douglas High School, lettering in 4 sports for 4 years. And whereas he has set many state records in football and track, and subsequently named Arizona All-State in football 3 years in a row as a running back, and named Arizona High School Athlete of the Year as a senior, and also inducted into the Arizona Hall of Fame. And whereas he was recognized as one of Arizona's top 50 athletes of all time, and whereas he was a 2-time All-Southwest Conference running back at the University of Texas, and only player to lead the conference in 5 categories. And whereas he was inducted into the Southwest Conference and University of Texas Longhorn Hall of Fame. And whereas he was the most valuable player in the college all-star game against the world champion Detroit Lions. And whereas he was drafted by the Green Bay Packers in the 4th round as a running back. And whereas he served his country in the United States Army. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Donald C. Hewish, Mayor, and on behalf of the City of Douglas Council, do hereby proclaim September 1, 2003 as Gib Dawson Day in the city of Douglas, Arizona, in honor and recognition of the former state and nationally recognized legendary and outstanding Douglas High School Bulldog athlete, Gib Dawson. And by the way, September 1 is the pick game. So we better be there and in full force to make sure that in honor of Gib Dawson, that we keep that pick back here in Douglas. Thank you. As you can hear, there's quite a commotion going on outside because we have some special teams that have represented our community very, very well over this past summer. First is the recognition of the 2023 Arizona Intermediate 50/70 champions. The boys were Arizona 50/70 Intermediate Baseball State champions. They played against teams from Arizona, beating Sunnyside Little League in the championship. And by the way, it doesn't say this here, but on the way there, they spanked the heck out of Nogales. Other teams in the tournament were from Payson, Deer Valley, Prescott, and Continental Ranch Little Leagues. With this championship, they advanced to the West Region Tournament held in Nogales, Arizona. Teams representing the West were Hawaii, Alaska, Northern California, Southern California, Idaho, Oregon, Washington, and Arizona. Douglas was three wins, 1 loss in pool play, with their only loss to Hawaii. In bracket play, they beat Nogales, advancing to the semifinals, in which they lost to Hawaii once again. They ended up in 3rd place overall. Hawaii ended up the West Region champions, advancing to the 50/70 Intermediate Little League World Series. Also, we have this evening with us, well, let me read the names of these boys that were on this year's team. To begin with, manager Robert Rodriguez. If you wouldn't mind, you have it right there. And his assistant coaches, Aiden Rodriguez and Jose Merino. And the boys on the roster for the All-Star team is Dylan Valenzuela, Emiliano Fimbres, Ezequiel Gonzalez. There you go. Come on, Mico. Ezequiel. Okay. Francisco Blanco. Isidro Pedrosa. Iván Martínez. Jonathan Medrano. Marcus Peralta. Maximiliano Algara. Ryan Leisure. Sebastián Avechuco. And Grace Rodriguez. Also, it's a very important year because just so happens state champions are here tonight also from the year 2005 that won the same state championship. And if you wouldn't mind standing, if you're here, when I read your name, Pedro Cabrera. Fabián Ochoa. Jesús López. Ismael Peña. Héctor Hernández. Víctor Gómez. Ramón Acosta. Ryan Valenzuela. George Hurtado. Alexis Queque Aguirre. Héctor Grijalva. And Jesus Lopez. Now, there's also, go ahead and sit down. We'll invite you up for a picture in just a second. There's also a special group that won the same state championship 50 years ago. And some of them are here today with us. And I'd like to recognize them. May you please stand when I call your name. John Mariscal. David Campas. Gilbert Buck Rojas. And some guy by the name of Donald Hewish. So we could have, should we try to get all of them up here at once? Come on, boys, you come on up, and you older guys, we'll be in here too. Let's do this. Whoa.
Se paró 2 veces.
Congratulations. Happy anniversary. Get up on the chair.
First play of the game.
Represent 15 years of
You're welcome. Your friend was
Way to represent. Good job. Good job.
Hay uno más alto que nosotros y luego más. Yeah, usually it's just simply whatever they're feeding the tall ones, I want to need that. Hopefully that's it. We're still having. We still need the girls.
Now.
Yeah, the girls.
I thought we saw the boys. Oh, I think we're not.
And that's not all. We have some other groups that we'd like to recognize this evening. As soon as they quiet down just a little bit.
Did you? Pull it up?
The members of the 50-year All-Stars want everybody to know that they're all happy that they're still alive. So, be able to see this young group carry on the tradition of great baseball in Douglas. Next group we want to recognize is the 2023 Arizona 8-10-year-old Baseball District 8 champions. And when I call your name, if you young men wouldn't mind walking forward. Alan Martinez. Derek Vasquez. Maximiliano Lagarda. Héctor Arciniega. Francisco Erives. Gerardo Martinez. All the way to the end, guys. So we'll get everybody up here. Roman Gonzalez. Yeah, I want him on my team. He's the one that hustled up here. Fabian Valenzuela. Everardo Orozco. Jacob Herman. Flavio Peralta. And Harden Valenzuela. But I don't have any coaches' names, so somebody's got to help me out with coaches. Where's the coaches? Thank you. Eric Valenzuela. And Eric Moreno. Congratulations. I'm gonna take advantage of it. Hey, John, we get you to stand up. Little bit of run. There in the front. We're gonna have a lot of shots. The future of Douglas High School.
It's. I'm sorry. She can come to the public, I didn't see it. Is it different? It's the same. Where's the copy of the public? Oh, this.
And now the best for last. Coming in. Mr. Baldenegro, if I could ask your assistants to hand out the certificates, if you wouldn't mind doing that, because you will hear some special names coming up. We'd also like to recognize the 2023 Arizona 8 to 10-year-old softball District 8 champions for softball for these young ladies here tonight. As I read your name, of course, come forward. Caitlin Casares. Sienna Baldenegro. The rumor is that she got her skills from her mom, her grandma. Her mom and her grandma. Sorry. Both, yep. Sofia Diaz. Katie Ortiz. Kathleen Miranda. Zoe Galindo. Aliana Pelayo. Amaya Rodriguez. Scarlett Salayandia. Mila Villalobos. Aubrey Romo. And Sheila Ruiz. And their coaches, manager Jesus Martinez. Coach Talia Higuera. A former Douglas High School Lady Bulldog. Coach Nicole Baldenegro. They played in district play in Benson on June 26th through July 1st, went 4-0, beating Bisbee, Wilcox, and Benson. Played state in Avondale, where their record was 2-2. And I also was told, and I saw that they had some trouble with their funding because somebody thought that it was acceptable to break windows in a car and take their funding for the tournament.
Oh.
But Douglas stepped forward and brought together the money so that these girls could continue their quest, their desire, their goals, their hopes to become state champs. And next year, they're going to get even closer, if not all the way there. So congratulations, young ladies. Keep up the good work.
Basketball, softball. I don't know, she ran track. Yeah. Wow. These are my.
As you can see, we've had a successful season in our sports leagues. I'd also like to recognize and congratulate all the other youth that spent their time working hard and playing and practicing, and their parents for their support. Item number 7, persons wishing to address the council in writing or verbally on any item not on the agenda. Do you have anyone this evening?
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. First, we have Ann Carl. Ms. Carl, please.
Well, it's very hard to follow that act. I'm Ann Carl. I live in Bisbee, Arizona, and let's not talk about the pick. I'm going to keep quiet about the pick, especially after that. Very impressive. It's good to be here, and I appreciate your service. And I'm here today to just introduce myself. I'm Ann Carl. I happen to be running for county recorder, but I'm here to talk about good governance for our county and suggest that we all thank Ann English, who is, of course, our county representative. She is helping taxpayers by fighting the ridiculous number of lawsuits. She's always on the side of common sense. And we've had a number of cases in which, because of incompetence or politics, especially politics, we are spending $300,000 and counting on lawsuits that were avoidable. And so I just want to urge others to, if you have the opportunity, to thank Ann English for fighting that good fight. And I'm running for county recorder next year, so I'm getting my name out there. But this is a great county. We are larger than the size of Connecticut, right? But there are forces that are dividing us, and we're already so spread out and divided sometimes. And so my whole mission is to get the politics out of that office, the county recorder's office. And I hope to do that next year. And I appreciate your giving me this time. And I hope you have a great meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Next, we have Ms. Diana Lamar. Are you sure?
Yes.
You can't make your quick announcement for your event?
That was in case my parents didn't.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if he was coming, but he's good.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Steve Helfrich, please.
Steve Helfrich, 1303 F Avenue, Douglas, Arizona, 85607. Good evening, Mayor and city council members. I've decided to reintroduce myself to you and the community. My name is Steve Helfrich. I'm a Douglas resident. I'm a licensed architect since 1995 and a visual artist. I've been residing at 1303 F Avenue and have expertise in the international existing building code and art, culture, and micro business development. Originally from Phoenix, I've been a property owner in Douglas for the past 5 years. I was drawn to Douglas because of my interest in rebuilding and preserving the historical downtown area. I've developed a great group of friends and business associates, and I am involved in the community. I've contributed over $200,000 to the local community and the businesses and continue to rehabilitate the building on F Avenue. I'm very much interested in rehabilitating old buildings, reusing and repurposing as much material as possible. You are all welcome to come over. It's F and 13th, the old Douglas Hotel, and view it and see the progress that we've made. I work slow, but I work thorough and I work good. And I want it to be beautiful. I would like it to be. I'm going to submit it to architectural record in their historical renovation portion, and hopefully we'll get it published. Also, I just want to reiterate, I am available for consultation on architecture and planning matters. Lastly, I would like to reiterate that the Phelps Dodge smelter site needs to be remediated. We have 10 years here and we need to push them forward. I don't see the port and the town being successful in the future without that site returning to usefulness, remediation, the health, the environment, the health of the citizens, and the future of Douglas really depends upon it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Helfrich. Mr. Jose David Quiñones.
Thank you, Mayor, and the honorable council members. My name is Jose David. I'm an art promoter that have been in Douglas for 8 months, and we are building La Casa de la Cultura Comunitaria here in Douglas. I am a Mexican immigrant that was born in Honduras. It's kind of strange for you to hear this. I've been in this country for 50 years and I'm already a US citizen. I've been a promoter, an art promoter and defender of or advocate of our culture and our history. I'm renting, we are, because it's not just me. We are renting the property at the Les Blanc Foundation, right, kitty corner from the City Hall. And we have already 2 events because the Casa de la Cultura Comunitaria is what I call a work in progress. This Saturday, we're having another event, which will be the second, and it's called Noche Mexicana. And we are going to have a photo exhibit by 3 photographers, one by Zimbabwe, Africa, Sacha Melamangoma, and one from here, from Douglas, Mike Montoya, and one from El Paso, Juarez. And I hope that pues you people can come and see. It's a community center. It is run by the community. It is self-governed, and we look for our own resources to keep the place. It's work in progress. We're hoping to open also, because the property is kind of big, and we are hoping to have a civic club, because Douglas needs a movie house, which don't have. This is part of what I call it. After being in Douglas for 8 months, I saw the need of what we're doing. And I sought to give Douglas an injection of vitality in terms of the culture and the arts. And I'm going to quote one of the council members. She wrote something on the Facebook about Energize Douglas. Well, this is part of Energizing Douglas. I call it an injection of vitality, which is the same thing. So I know that I have a short time I could go on for 2 or 3 days to explain what I do, but I know I have 3 minutes. So thank you very much. And I hope that all of you are invited to see what we're doing. We're going to have Noche Mexicana. We're going to have Becca Reyes. I'm sure that she's from Douglas, Agua Prieta, Cananea, California, and now Bisbee. And she's coming back to Douglas, and she's going to give a recital of Mexican traditional music. And also we have invited Mike Montoya, which many of you, I think, know who he is, and a young musician that I just happened to run into a Walmart. And so thank you very much for accepting my presence here. So God bless all of you.
What day?
August the 12th. I have the flyer here.
Saturday.
I have some more if you want to pass them out to the council.
We'll make them copies. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Quinones.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Item number 8, discussion decision on approval of consent agenda items. Item A, expenditures for the month of July 2023 totaling $1,820,192.42. B, meeting minutes for May 10, May 24, July 12, and July 26, 2023. And Planning and Zoning Commission Chair appointment of Mr. Louis Garcia. May I have a motion regarding the consent agenda? Yes, Ms. Morales. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Morales, second by Mr. Baldanegro to approve the consent agenda items as presented. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes.
Mayor for Temper Morales. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 9, discussion decision on approvals. Item A, first reading of ordinance number 23-1169. An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona. Rezoning assessors parcel number 410-210-02B located along the northern extent of Rogers Avenue from mobile home residential MHR to general commercial GC and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Mr. Osborne, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. We offer a brief presentation that we also provided to the Planning and Zoning Commission that met on July 25th, where they recommended unanimous approval for the rezone to general commercial from mobile home residential. My friends, technology, here we come. Okay. And so the Cortez Ames Trust Rogers Avenue Zoning District's map amendment, ZMA 2023-09, located at the northern extent of Rogers Avenue as it's paved. The applicant wanted to or wants to place a 30-by-40 warehouse, 30-by-40 foot, to have a fitness center. The property is 6 acres, and the zoning of mobile home residence has been in place for quite some time, over 20 years, and we haven't had any development of it for that use. So the proposal, it's the northwest corner of this area that's largely zoned mobile home residence, but there is a sliver of a larger parcel to the east that is zoned general commercial. The animal shelter is located within this area as well, and it is zoned mobile home residence. The proposal shown here would change that 6-acre park parcel on the west side of Rogers Avenue to general commercial. We had a number of goals and policies that we provided to the Planning and Zoning Commission and their staff report packets. We have them summarized here. I won't bother you with reading them, but nonetheless, the ultimate result is the recommendation for approval, as we also look to include commercial uses in close proximity to residences. The residential uses that are to the south are mobile home, but the possibilities in the future, we're seeing less of that and more requests for a single-family residential building. And so we explained that the loss of opportunities for mobile home residences really is not significant citywide, as there are limited numbers of mobile homes that we're actually seeing located in Douglas. We're actually, again, having more requests for something else. And so the recommendation for approval for the rezone was provided, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended unanimously to approve. I have the ability to answer any of your questions if you have them.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the placement of the ordinance?
Mayor.
Ms. Acosta, please.
I move that mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 23-1169 on its first reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Acosta, second by Mr. Baldanegro for the placement of the ordinance 23-1169 on its first reading by number and title only. Any questions or discussion?
Mayor.
Mrs. Acosta, please.
Yes, I do have a question. Mr. Osborne, did you mention that the animal shelter is not on a commercial zone?
The property is actually zoned mobile home residence on both sides of Rogers Avenue.
Mhm.
But behind the animal shelter, there is a portion of the adjacent parcel, which is fairly large. It's, I think, over 10 acres. That is zoned general commercial. Not sure if somebody had the intent of zoning the animal shelter to general commercial, but that's not what the zoning districts map that we've had going back for that property back to 2008 or before. It's zoned mobile home residence.
Should that be visited as rezoning for general commercial?
I think that that may be a sensible proposal. We're also looking at the possibility of proposing rezones or not really rezones, but overlay zoning district proposals for the innovative community overlays that were also just made effective, will be made effective rather on Friday morning of this week. So we may be looking at possibly that area having innovative community overlays that might allow for commercial use on that property.
Okay, and I'm sorry, what is the intended use for this lot?
The intended use for this proposal, the 6-acre parcel, is for a fitness center. They're wanting to locate it closer to Rogers Avenue, not very far from it, leaving a significant amount of the area available for future development, perhaps.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lindeman, please.
Thank you. My questions have been answered. Thank you, Mr. Osborne.
You're welcome.
Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr. Grijalva.
I'm with Mrs. Acosta on this. The fact that one of our buildings is not in compliance does not look good. If it was a regular citizen, we'd probably be, hurrying up with it. But since it's ours, I think we need to direct staff to bring it up to the planning and zoning. Just because it's our property and we're not in compliance, it's not a good look.
Mayor, I may.
Please, Ms. Kiko.
Thank you. I think we can certainly proceed with that direction. Just as a point of clarification, the city currently leases that from the University of Arizona, but I agree that the zoning should probably reflect what the rest of the area does. So we'll look into it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindeman,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning assessors parcel number 410-21002B, located along the northern extent of Rogers Avenue from mobile home residential to general commercial, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the first approval of the first reading of the ordinance?
Mayor,
Yes, please.
I move that mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 23-1169 and place it on its second reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Costa, second by Mr. Balanegro to approve the first reading of the ordinance number 23-1169 and place it on its second reading by number and title only. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Grijalva,
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Lindemann,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales. Yes. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries.
An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning assessors parcel number 410-21002B, located along the northern extent of Rogers Avenue from mobile home residential to general commercial, and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. Item 9B, discussion decision on approval of first reading of ordinance number 23-1170. An ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona. Rezoning assessors parcel number 408-250-84A located on North J Avenue, one parcel north of Highway 80, East 16th Street from single family resident 6,000 SFR6 to general commercial GC and amending the official zoning district map, establishing severability of components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof. Mr. Osborne, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This proposal for the North J Avenue property, it's approximately 1/4 of an acre from single family residential, 6,000 square foot to general commercial, located adjacent to a property that is already zoned general commercial in the same ownership. As well, there's a parcel to the north of the subject property that is also in the ownership of the Lopez family. They are looking with this proposal to have that mid-block portion, which is currently vacant and also has a bit of some issue with junk or debris. They're wanting to clear that property off and make it part of the auto retail that they have at the corner of 16th or Highway 80 and J Avenue. And so the general plan designations for the property are consistent to allow for a zoning change. And we look at this opportunity for development of the property to support an existing business in Douglas to recommend approval. The Planning and Zoning Commission at the meeting of the July 25th public hearing also recommended approval unanimously. And so if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the placement of the ordinance?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Ms. Costa.
I move that the mayor and council approve the placement of ordinance number 23-1170 on its first reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Costa, second by Mr. Shelton to approve the placement of ordinance number 23-1170 on its first reading by number and title only. Any questions or discussion?
Mayor.
Yes, please, Ms. Morales. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Yes, I have a question and I've noticed this on some other properties, but I understand that this is the intent for this is for a car lot. Do we have anything in the books or anything to prevent it from becoming a junkyard of old cars that aren't, are just shells, I guess?
Right.
Could that, be prevented from happening if we
Junk
zone?
yards?
Yeah.
just to answer your question, Madam Acosta, is that junkyards or salvage yards, those are use that's only allowed in the heavy industry zoning district.
Okay,
And so whenever somebody comes to us, and we've had people ask, we would like to have a yard where we could store cars and junk cars and so forth. And we have to let them know that a general commercial zone property, as this one is proposed to be, wouldn't allow for that use. So auto repair, yes, but auto junking, no. They would have to locate to a property either in Cochise County or to a property zoned heavy industry and have that use approved.
okay. So at what point does auto repair then turn into junk?
It's a great question for code
Yards.
enforcement. Yes, we have questions, actually quite often, even with residential properties in the city where
Mhm.
folks are storing an excessive number of vehicles. And so it's a struggle, but it's something that the zoning code doesn't support for a junkyard or the junking of cars or debris or any kinds of things that we're seeing, not necessarily just on general commercial properties. But yeah, we would go with enforcement if we had to.
Okay, so does general commercial support auto repair?
Yes, it does.
It does, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes,
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Montenegro,
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Morales. Yes. Mr. Mayor,
Yes, motion carries.
an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning assessors parcel number 408-250-848, located on North J Avenue, one parcel north of Highway 80 East 16th Street, from single family residential 6,000 SFR 6 to general commercial and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. We have a motion regarding the approval of the first reading.
Mayor.
Yes, please, Ms. Costa.
I move that mayor and council approve the first reading of ordinance number 23-1170 and place it on its second reading by number and title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Costa, second by Mr. Bonaventura to approve the first reading of ordinance number 23-1170 and place it on its second reading by number and title only. Any other questions, thoughts, or discussion?
Mayor, I did.
Yes,
have
please.
Another thought on this.
Please, Mrs. Costa.
Do we need to be more specific or have more enforceable guidelines when it comes to auto repair and, you know, it turning into a storage facility for vehicles that aren't working and in a sense become junk vehicles?
Councilmember Acosta, I would say that our code is clear enough about that. That if we're having the storage of vehicles that are not being repaired, that we can enforce if we get a call.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Grijalva,
Yes.
Councilmember Montenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes,
Councilmember Lindemann,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Morales. Yes. Mr. Mayor,
Yes, motion carries.
an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, rezoning assessors parcel number 408-250-848, located on North J Avenue, one parcel north of Highway 80 East 16th Street, from single family residential 6,000 SFR 6 to general commercial and amending the official zoning district map, establishing several related components of ordinance and establishing an effective date thereof.
Thank you. Item number 9C, discussion decision on resolution number 23-1558, the resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, authorizing the acceptance of $8,170,000 funding from the state of Arizona and authorizing the entry into an intergovernmental agreement with Arizona Department of Transportation for the construction of a connector road from Highway 80 to the new commercial port of entry west of Douglas. Ms. Moore, please.
Hi, good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. As you know, this is a piece of what we need to do to get the port of entry going on our infrastructure. It's for the acceptance of the $8,170,000 from the state of Arizona that was given to us by the legislature. This intergovernmental agreement will allow ADOT to put that money towards the project. And the root resolution will allow the city to move forward with signing the agreement with ADOT for this purpose. So the city will be accepting the funds. However, it can be used by the project partners. We have several project partners, including ADOT, of course, and Cochise County. There's many issues that still need to be addressed. You guys are all in the planning meeting, so you know. We have to determine the road alignment. Design is still being developed. Many different factors are being looked at. And then ultimately, the ownership of the road that will be the connector road has not yet been determined fully. So I wanted to open up a little bit. Luis Pedrosa has been involved with the donation acceptance agreement, which I think is later in the agenda, if there's any other details he wanted to add.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the resolution?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Shelton.
I move that mayor and council approve resolution number 23-1558.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Mr. Bolanegro to approve resolution number 23-1558. Any questions or discussion?
Like to make a comment.
Please, Mr. Shelton.
You know, after all of these years of work, and now we're down to getting the road. And we've been to Washington and talking to all type of legislatures and people that are in charge of the money there to get this. This is going to be a great victory for Douglas. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor, I was just gonna
Please,
mention,
Mr. Lindeman.
was Mr. Pedrosa gonna put forth a little more information?
Please, Mr. Pedrosa.
Mayor, members, good evening. I think it's more covered it. What I would add is that we reached the right direction, and we know that it doesn't cover the entire cost of the roadway, but to have obtained it from at this point, at this juncture, before the design is in place, our chances of getting the full road funding are pretty great. And the support continues to pour for the city of Douglas from ADOT, our partners, agencies. This is just a huge victory. As was mentioned, we take because those delineations as to who's gonna own the road and who's gonna construct the road haven't been made. We have the ability to IGA these funds with other agencies, which will allow us to partner, but certainly backing the money is really a great step.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'd like to add a little bit more to it. This, for clarification purposes, comes out of the general budget for the state of Arizona that was appropriated for road projects throughout the state, ours of which is part of this funding of nearly $8.2 million. It also, the state director of the Arizona Department of Transportation will be visiting the site in September to go down and see what is there. And the process is now is to, once the design concept report is completed, which we had a public presentation last week regarding some options for that road. Then it will be allowed or permitted because we will have a viable project to what's called the ADOT 5-year plan. And so having the support of the ADOT director coming down and visualizing the project, seeing what's going on is also a major, huge step of being able to see that. We're being told that, the state is very aware of this and of course wants to make this happen. And this is, again, another step towards that end. And it's exciting and very positive news for our community to see the progress that's happening with the port of entry and the reality. Still want to pinch myself on occasion to make sure that it's really happening. It's not a dream, but it is. And this is again a major. It was major to get the ADOT to fund $1.5 million for a design concept report. It's virtually almost unheard of, that type of situation happening, but yet it happened for Douglas. It started out at being, I think, around 700,000. Got up to $1 million and ended up being 1.5 million that they committed to be able to perform the study to the environmental and the design portion of it. So then the state recognizes the need, the economic impact that this will have and for our region, and thus the funding comes forth to show the state the importance, to show everyone in the state the importance of this project and the importance of Douglas, Arizona. So I'm excited to have that and report that.
Mayor,
Please.
me first.
Mr. Kehoe.
Mayor, members of the council, I also want to just make it known that Mr. Luis Ramirez is present this evening to listen in, and he's been a huge partner and consultant, of course, but huge in every effort that we've made towards amassing the amount of funding that we've been able to acquire at this point. And he is available for questions on either of the two port-related items that we have today.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Mr. Boros, you have something else? Please.
Clarification because it's confusing. As you know, the DCR, the design concept report, has to go through a process of the road selection or the location of the road. Right now, there's 3 concepts that are being selected. One is the existing James Branch Road, and there's other 2, one is Brooks Road, and the other one is kind of a combination. When we applied for this grant, the design concept report did not exist yet. We didn't know about the 3 potential roadways. So in your packet, the IGA refers to James Branch Road construction. It was always thought that would be the alignment. That's what we called it that way, but certainly that's yet to be determined. So I just want to make sure we clarify that the roadway is not yet James Branch Road. But certainly that's why you'll see it in your ADOT IGA packet that when we apply for the grant, just that was not reality yet, the design concept report.
And thus we call it the connector road.
Connector road.
That's the appropriate name for now.
Well, it's got to connect. That's the main focus. Thank you. Anyone else in the council?
Yes.
Yes, please, Mrs. Costa.
I'm just curious if we know an approximate cost for this connector road. I know that location will probably, be a determinant of that, but a ballpark.
So I don't even have a ballpark, and I'll tell you one reason why is every meeting that we're in, and I think I can speak for some of these folks, is that they keep talking about the drainage.
Okay.
Being a big factor, and I don't know that they have a solution yet. I mean, they're talking about maybe doing a regional basin or culverts, different options, and so that could add significantly to the cost. I know that all the project partners are working together, though, so they're trying to get even Cochise County to look at regional planning for drainage or ADOT or, so the road itself is one aspect, but the drainage has become more of an issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for clarifying.
if I could add, the way we came up with the grant amount was through a concept drawn up by the district, ADOT district engineer, told us to ask for $15 million, which we did. But as the process of the grant ran its course, it got cut to what we got today. But certainly, yeah, the DCR will reveal those costs as soon as the road selection and the pathway is selected.
That was 15, kind of sounded like 50.
Yeah, it sounded like 50. I'm like,
15.
whoa.
15.
Thank you.
But I think the key component here always to remember is that, ADOT is involved in this. And so they now have what's always termed, and I don't like the term skin in the game, but they have a reason for wanting to make sure that this is done right and at the least amount of cost. Because the way I envision it happening is that it will be on the 5-year plan because of the need for the entire state of Arizona for this connector road to happen. And so again, and I want to compliment staff and everyone in the council for our commitment to try to make sure that as much as possible that this project, that the city of Douglas's responsibility is not placed on the backs of the local taxpayers. And this is another example of that not being the case, that it's coming from elsewhere. It's coming from the state budget. So thank you. Now that we've got the discussion rolling, anybody else?
Here,
Yes, please, Mr. Valdenegro.
Mr. Pedrosa, do we have land towards that Brooks Road or the other connector road site that they're thinking about?
Mayor, Councilmember Valdenegro, yes, we do. We have approximately 260 acres close to Brooks Road. So certainly that's still an option to look at, utilizing potentially some of that city-owned land.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes.
Mayor Potempo Morales. Yes. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 9D, resolution number, discussion decision on approval of resolution number 23-1559, resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, amending the city of Douglas policy number 2.01, dealing with travel policy for employee appointed and elected officials for the city of Douglas.
Mayor, Mr. Alex Martinez is on virtually. He will
Okay.
present. Can you hear us, Alex?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. What you have in front of you is a proposal to amend our existing travel policy, and the main change has to do with the current policy having set rates for both the per diem and the mileage reimbursement, which over time become outdated and do not account for inflation or deferring costs depending on the city that you're traveling to. So this amendment will make this policy implement the use of up-to-date rates as determined by the United States General Services Administration, GSA, which publishes its rates online. So that is the intent of this amendment. I will entertain any questions you might have.
Thank you. May I have a motion regarding the resolution?
Mayor,
Yes, please.
I move that mayor and council approve resolution number 231559.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Acosta, second by Mr. Valdenegro to approve resolution number 23-1559. Any questions or comments?
I do have a question.
Yes, please, Ms. Acosta.
Is there a difference between the GSA rates and the rates that the state of Arizona uses, or are those one and the same?
Yes, so I will actually defer that question to Ms. Pedrosa, who actually conducted most of the research as to what the state uses and what the difference is with what GSA rates.
Ms. Pedrosa, please.
There is a slight difference. The state amounts are usually about $5 less than the GSA amounts have. We did do a survey of the cities within the state in Arizona, and for those that responded, which was about 11 of them, we had 9 that are using the GSA rates. Usually is the education institutions that use the state of Arizona rates.
And yeah, and the reason I asked that is because usually state budgets are less, are not as big as federal budgets. So I just wonder if, we should look at the state, what the state uses rather than, nationwide. But thank you. Thank you for.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor, if I may also clarify to that point, what we found it on the GSA is that it has a sliding scale, for lack of a better word. So it's not just a one amount, it's gauged, and their lower range, depending on where you travel in the state, matches very closely our current rate with the city of Douglas. But it allows for a variety of different, depending on where the travel is, it matches most to that area. So that was the flexibility that I think we felt why these other 11 cities are aligned to the GSA, because it's not always one and done if it's way too high. It modifies based on whatever parameters they use for those metrics.
And the state does too. Their travel policy also, depending on the state, or not the state, the city
Right.
that you're in, it varies. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Grijalva,
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton.
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Lindemann,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Morales. Mr. Mayor,
Yes, motion carries. Item number 9E, discuss and decision on resolution number 23-1560, a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Douglas, Cochise County, Arizona, authorizing the execution of a service agreement renewal between the city of Douglas and Southeastern Arizona Governments Organization, SEGO, in the amount of $20,000 to be used in the transit program to maintain services for elderly and disabled individuals in the city of Douglas and surrounding community. Mr. Rivera, please.
Mr. Mayor, Council, this is again the service agreement renewal between the city of Douglas and SEGO, Southeastern Arizona Governments Organization. The amount is $20,000 for the next year, and this is going to be used in the transit program to maintain services for the elderly, disabled in the city of Douglas and the community. This is also to be to offset the overall cost of the Douglas Rides Transit Program, and it is free of cost. It doesn't cost anything to our elderly and disabled.
Thank you. I have a motion regarding the resolution.
Mayor,
Yes, please, Ms. Costa.
that mayor and council approve resolution number 23-1560.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Acosta, second by Mr. Valdenegro to approve resolution number 23-1560. Any questions or comments?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr. Grijalva.
talking about the elderly and the disabled, I want to thank you for your drivers. When I go walking from the gym, they just don't wait for the individuals to, come to them. They get down, they help them out. And it's something that I don't think we appreciate enough from our employees in your department. So I want to thank you for the great job that you're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Grijalva. Well said. Anyone else? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tempore Morales. Yes. Mr. Mayor,
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 9F, discussing decision on approval of execution of donation acceptance agreement for the donation of 80 acres to the General Service Administration, GSA, for the construction of a new commercial port of entry. Mr. Pedrosa, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor and Council recalls via ordinance 22-1151 approved on October 25th, 2022. It executed the donation of the 80-acre parcel that the city owns to GSA for the construction of the new commercial port of entry. GSA wanted to make some minor changes to that, which is why we didn't follow through with the full execution. Basically, those changes are non-substantive and summary of those items is basically that the GSA no longer needs utilities easements within the 80-acre parcel. Basically, they will be responsible for bringing those utility ins into the 80-acre parcel. The other change was that the GSA requested the city to bring the connector road to the 80 acres and which would entail working with our partners, ADOT and Cochise County, as was mentioned in the previous item. That's already in effect. We're already actually doing that successfully and acquiring that grant from the state of $8.2 million. So basically the donation acceptance agreement execution will solidify the commitment of the construction of the commercial port of entry and allow this project to continue to be on task to be constructed by 2028. Mayor, there's more background if you like. I can go through that, but that's basically in today's agenda is to approve the changes to the agreement.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion regarding the acceptance?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Shelton, please.
I move the mayor and council approve the execution of the donation acceptance agreement for the donation of 80 acres to the General Services Administration, GSA, for the construction of a new commercial port.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Shelton, second by Mrs. Morales to approve the execution of the donation acceptance agreement for the donation of 80 acres to the General Service Administration, GSA, for the construction of a new commercial port of entry. Any questions or discussion?
Mayor,
Yes, please, Mr. Grijalva.
I think Mr. Shelton's been saying this for a while, that it's taken a long time for this to happen. I just want to publicly thank all the past administrations that have worked hard for this, our employees, that individual in the back that doesn't like attention, but Mr. Luis Ramirez, he's been opening doors for us. If it wasn't for him being a part of the process, we wouldn't be here. So thank you to all the parties involved.
Thank you, Mr. Grijalva, for stating that. Anyone else? Mr. Ramirez, I'll give you an opportunity if you'd like to say anything. You're good? Okay. Just by way of information, just so people also know that the property on the south half of the border, the southern side, has also been formally donated at the federal level by the property owner. So that property also belongs to the federal government. Once we do this tonight, our side of the property will be also belong to our federal government. And that will really push forward the allowance of higher level meetings that will allow federal, state governments to be able to speak to each other. It's amazing to me that can't even speak to our neighbors officially without getting approval from both state departments. But that approval has apparently been given. It will start some joint technical meetings at the federal and state levels. We've invited them to come to Douglas when they want to discuss the Douglas projects, not only the new commercial port of entry, but what will happen with the remodel of the existing port of entry. That's also very important, that we don't forget that it's a two-tier project. Another point of information is that, thank you, will be that we'll be able to work on these projects together. GSA has a goal to try to stagger the beginning of these two projects to try to meet a quicker completion date. As we all know, construction materials are going up, costs are going up. And so they have a motivation to try to get them to move along a little bit quicker. We're still being told that the new commercial port of entry is scheduled to be optimistically completed at the last quarter of 2027, but more likely the first quarter of 2028. And the finishing of the remodeling of Raul H. Castro will happen 18 months to 24 months after that. We'll finish up to do that. So that's exciting. We have one request from the public to speak on this agenda item. Mr. Stephen Helfrich, please.
Mayor and city council members. My concern, I have a concern about the wastewater system. Sewer system that we're proposing to put to supply the port with the infrastructure that we need. I think sometimes maybe you want something so bad and for so long that your your vision becomes a little cloudy. I don't think the wastewater system works. I think it's 3,500 linear feet. It was going to require at least 2 lift stations, a utility bridge to go across the 80, and it's going to require fresh water to be pumped into the system to get it to flow. And we really don't, there's just not enough toilets out there right now to get the system to flow to the existing wastewater treatment plant. So I read the agreement. There's a temporary request to get, I guess, maybe construction toilets or something out there. And then there's a permit. What I would suggest is that you change that you renegotiate that, maybe put the port on septic as a short-term solution on the property to the west, the city of Douglas property to the west, and then come back in and look at putting a small, brand new wastewater treatment plant right in the middle, maybe Puzzy Road and James Ranch Road, right where it makes sense. Let the civil engineers work on it. And then we can use that to water the whole commercial port development, industrial development master plan. I think that I was in also another concern I have is I was in a meeting a couple months ago, maybe 6 months ago, about the wastewater treatment plant, and expressed my concern that I think that the elevation is too low. And I was told that there was going to be a berming system that would be put around the wastewater treatment plant to essentially mitigate the problem it is in a floodplain. And I just would like to know how we're going to, if that's going to be moved on or moved through or completed. And
I'm sorry, Mr. Albert, but we can't comment on that one because it's not on the agenda.
okay. And then the third item is I went out to the sewer line that's going across the Arroyo east. East of, it's only take me 1 second, east of the slag heap. It's the one that's the bridge that goes across the Arroyo. It's the sewer line from Turtleville. And I just wanted to let you know there is a leak there. It's a small leak, but I would suggest addressing that.
Thank you, Mr. Albert.
Thank you. Also, this is a master plan. I got right out of school, I got an opportunity to work on the SRP master plan in downtown Capitol Park in Phoenix. That was in 1985, right when I got us. And what I've done now is take what that master plan looks like now, and how long it takes for these developments to come into maturity. And I just wanted to do that to you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the agenda item? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Lindemann,
Yes.
Councilmember Acosta,
Yes.
Councilmember Shelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Valdenegro.
Yes.
Councilmember Grijalva.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Morales. Yes. Mr. Mayor.
Yes, motion carries. One more step closer. Thank you. We move on to addenda item 1, discussion decision on city treasurer position. Item A, 3 council members have requested the removal of Deputy City Manager Luis Pedrosa as city treasurer and appointing the city finance director Alex Martinez as city treasurer. I don't want to sound disrespectful at all at the request and just wanted to make a clarification of what our city charter allows as far as appointing a treasurer. It's found on page 17 in Article 4, Section 3 regarding the city treasurer, and I'd like to take the opportunity to read what it says. It says, "The mayor, with the approval of the council, shall appoint an officer who shall have the title of city treasurer, who shall be responsible to the city council and who shall receive and have custody of all the money of the city and shall keep and save said money and disperse the same only as provided by ordinance. He shall always be bound by the Constitution, laws of the state, this charter and city ordinances. Legal garnishments may be served upon him." And I apologize for not being able to discuss with the 3 council members earlier about this specific situation. And at this point in the time, having the prerogative as a mayor to be able to appoint a city treasurer, I don't have any desire at this point in time to change this appointment that is currently in place of having Mr. Pedrosa as the city treasurer. So what I would like to suggest, if you would like to discuss duties and or histories of finance director, city treasurer, that I would be more than happy to put it on an agenda for further discussion. But at this point in time, again, stating the city charter, that it says that the mayor, with the approval of the council, shall appoint an officer who shall have the title of the city treasurer. At this point in time, I'm not ready to suggest or appoint a new officer at this point in time. So again, I wish I would have had more time to get with you earlier to see if we could discuss this in a different manner. But I would again be happy to put it on the agenda to discuss responsibilities if that's what you would like to do at a further meeting.
Mayor,
Yes, please.
can we ask Mr. Fitzgibbons if we can go into executive session for this?
Mr. Fitzgibbon, the question is that if we can go to executive session on this item.
Councilmember Valdenegro, I don't think we can go in executive session because we only have one city treasurer. And because we know who that is, if we were going to go into an executive session, we would have given him notice 24 hours before tonight's meeting. And then he could decide if we're going to talk about his position and him, whether he wanted it to be an executive session or an open meeting. And since this is only agendized for an open meeting and we did not give him notice, I don't think it's appropriate. And I don't think council can go into an executive session to discuss the city treasurer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, please, Mr. Grijalva.
I'd like to ask Mr. Fitzgibbons on why he okayed this to be on the agenda for action item if we couldn't do this.
And Councilmember Grijalva, that's probably my fault because when I saw 3 council members wanted it on the agenda, I didn't feel like I had any discretion. And so I mean, because it came up so late and the choice was trying to get it on within 24 hours before the meeting, you'll see the language in the that we used was essentially the language in the document that we received. And so I apologize. I felt that once I had 3 council members that had asked for this to be on the agenda, I felt it needed to be on the agenda. I know I could give you my legal opinion at that time at the meeting, which we did tonight, and I think the mayor covered the charter. But I really feel if we have 3 council members asking for something to be on an agenda, it's our obligation to put it on the agenda.
Oh, if that's like, I think then we have, Mr. Fitzgibbon giving his opinion. I think the mayor giving his opinion on this. If this won't be on the agenda, I'd like to direct our attorney to see if any open meeting laws have been broken by not discussing this to the Attorney General.
Councilmember Graham, I'm not, whether we violated the open meeting law because we didn't go into executive session or violated by putting it on the agenda, just give me a little more clarification so I can understand.
Just the fact that we announced it and it's not even on the floor for discussion. And just like the charter says, 3 council members basically forced it on the agenda and there's opinions on not to talk about it. So I'd just like to be sure that there's no state laws that are being broken by not discussing.
Well, in all due respect, I mean, I think it's being discussed. I think the mayor just says it's his appointment. He's not ready to remove or appoint a new person. So it's being discussed. So I don't think we're violating the open meeting law.
If I may, it's not even up for discussion. We didn't even bring it up we didn't even bring it up in a motion.
Well, I think the mayor, it's the mayor's appointment. So if he's not willing to make a new appointment or make a removal, it's his. So I'm not sure there's much else to discuss.
Well, that's fine. As long as the public knows what's going on, I'm okay with it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I have a question.
Sure, Mrs. Costa.
Yes, Mr. Fitzgibbons, can we bring it up for discussion? I understand that we can't make a decision based on the mayor's comment, but can we move to put this on the floor for discussion?
I mean, it's agendized for discussion. I mean, I guess you could move to do that, but I mean, the mayor has already said, I guess you could move to do that and see if you get 4 votes, and then at least you get the vote on it.
Okay, I'm not sure. I don't have the correct wording on here, but I'd like to move to put this on to have an open discussion for everybody to know maybe what the reasons or what the thoughts are behind this, to discuss the removal of Deputy City Manager Luis Pedrosa as City Treasurer and appointing City's Finance Director Alex Martinez as City Treasurer, just for discussion purposes.
So Dennis, if I may, according to Councilmember Acosta's question, we will need a motion and a second in order to discuss the item. Correct?
If I understand, you need a second and then you need 4 votes to discuss it. Isn't that, don't we go through a vote? I mean, you don't get 4 votes. It doesn't
No.
get discussed.
I'm sorry, no. So in order to discuss the item, we need to take a motion and a second to be able to open the item for discussion. After the discussions have been given by each council member, if that's the case, then we can move into voting on this item.
I thought you vote to put it on the floor to discuss it. is how you guys do your ordinances and resolution.
No, no. So it will be up to the chair if you would allow, and the city attorney, if you guys want to do a motion in a second to discuss the item. If
And so
you,
there's no vote, just a motion and a second?
correct.
There would be a vote as the items presented, because that's the only way it's agendized.
So the item is listed as discussion decision on the city treasurer position. So in order to allow for item A for the council members to further discuss the item, we need a motion and a second, similar like with the resolution. You need a motion and a second to discuss the resolution, and then you take the vote as presented. Whether
Yeah.
it,
I guess as I watch you do that, it always seems like you get a motion and a second, and then you vote to put it on so it can be discussed, and then you discuss it.
Okay, I like to say something after being in education for all these years. Number one, there's not a vacancy. It's
Point of order,
it's-
that's discussing before we even put
Okay.
the item in
Okay.
for discussion.
No, I'm doing legal things and you stay out of it.
No, point of
so
order.
if I may, please, let's just do a point of order. Dennis, is it your recommendation in order to discuss the item to have a motion in a second? As we have, for example, with resolutions or action items, obviously you need a motion in a second to be able to discuss an item, or at least provide council members with background information on such item.
Well, I think in some ways, obviously, under your rules of conduct, I mean, the mayor is the chair of the meeting, so he can, if he wants to say, hey, if there's 4 votes to discuss this, we can discuss it. If there's not 4 votes to discuss it, there's no opening. I'm not interested in removing anyone. So I think what the mayor had offered makes more sense to me at a later meeting. If you want to put it up just for discussion, without any vote, without any removal or anything like that, but to discuss why someone believes the city treasurer should, and the finance director should be the same person or something. I think that's what the mayor was offering, and I think that would be appropriate if you wanted to put it at a later meeting just for discussion. But tonight it's agendized for discussion decision to remove and appoint. And I think the person who has that power has already said he's not going to do it. So I think it would be, I think it's appropriate if the mayor wants to say now, I don't think this needs to be discussed. I don't mind discussing at a later meeting, just a discussion, so you can explain why people believe this needs to be done. But as we sit here tonight, he's not prepared to remove anyone or appoint anybody new. So I'm not sure why we'd go further with the discussion tonight.
As the mayor, that's exactly, I'm not ready to approve or suggest for approval to appoint a new city treasurer. And again, offer council members to have it on a future agenda item for discussion only, to be able to discuss what they feel they need to discuss. But I think that we would be violating our city charter if we discuss the appointment of a city treasurer without the mayor putting forth an appointment. So that's my feeling, and I would like to end the discussion at that this evening. And again, I'm not trying to cut it off. I'd be happy to do it at another meeting. But as far as appointing, which is what the request of the 3 council members were, that's not going to happen tonight because I will not violate the charter. So we'll move on to item number 10, city manager report, Mr. Kiko.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I'll be brief. I just wanted to go over community events as I do every month. This past weekend, the city hosted 2 back-to-back movie events in the community. The first event that was rescheduled for the movies in the park was finally held on Friday at Veterans Memorial Park, featuring the Mario Brothers movie. About 400 attendees showed up, along with a very special guest, our very own council member as well, Mr. Grijalva. The second movie was held on Saturday evening as the first dive-in movie at the Aquatic Center, featuring Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And again, attendance at that event was about 100. So great feedback received by the community on both events. Also, the City of Douglas Library, Recreation, Fire, and Police Departments participated in the Douglas Back to School Care Fair event. Notebooks, pencils, folders, and city event information and resources were provided to hundreds of kids that were participants of the event. We heard about the Casa de Cultura, Calles y Sueños. I was going to go over that. We heard from Mr. Jose David, and you have those flyers. So I encourage the community to also check in on that. The event is Saturday, August 12th at 6 p.m., 349 East 9th Street. Also, Mexican Baseball Fiesta is back, so mark your calendars for October 4th. Tickets will be available in September. And just a reminder that senior center activities are held Thursdays and Fridays starting at 10 a.m. at Douglas Arc, with bingos, arts and craft, and board games are some of the fun activities planned. And I know we also have Energize Douglas, so I'll defer that to Ms. Acosta's activities during her announcements to see how that's moving along as well, or whatever she'd like to showcase on that event. Also, very good news for us as a city. Today, we were informed by the Arizona Department of Water Resources that the review of our application packet that we submitted to them to operate our water service under the AMA regulations came back in the positive. We have been granted a new service area right and issued our own service area right number. This essentially gives us permission to draw our own water under the AMA regulations. So I want to give accolades to Public Works. You should have seen the bright face of our city engineer, Elise Moore, earlier, just smiling, so happy with the information. So I want to thank her and her team. This allows us to move forward. She'll do a little dance. This allows us to move forward with the construction finally of Valley 18 and a few more steps also toward attaining water rights for use for hauling and construction. So very good news on that end. Also today, our Public Works and Development Services staff met with Douglas High School staff and their contractor on their projects, the new site. They were all on site together, and reports are that progress and positive steps were made towards closing the gaps of the standing list of items necessary for a successful completion of that inspection process. So it was collaborative, and the contractor acknowledged and understood the list of items. However, I understand the list grew a little in size as part of their walkthrough today. So we'll continue to collaborate and work with DHS on a regular basis. The superintendent Samaniego has been engaged and is following the progress of that pending list. And we mentioned earlier also the ADOT public meeting for the connector road took place last week, and open comments are still being accepted through September 1st. Materials and document forms are available on their website, but also here at City Hall. Attendance was great. I estimate about 60, 70 were there in attendance. Many great questions that I heard myself. I was able to hear comments from many, and so were all of the ADOT staff that was available. Had a great successful trip to Washington, and I'm going to defer that to each of you that attended on any reports you'd like to state with that. But all I'd like to say is that we had a tall order to help support everything we have at stake in our various congressional spending requests. And we had a very, very busy 4 days. And with that, I'll defer over to council reports. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kehoe. Item number 11, informational items and reports from council and future agenda item requests. Mr. Grijalva, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Wanted to remind everybody Commodities Day on the 21st. It's the third Monday, unless it falls in January, February. I'd like to thank the Parks and Rec staff for allowing me to be part of their Mario Brothers movie. Went there like an hour. You want me to do it?
Yeah. There we go.
I went around an hour early and just to see the kids' excitement that Mario was there. So next time, maybe I could get Yoshi and Luigi and the whole gang to come out.
Are you having suggestions of which council members might be?
I think
which?
all of us. There's plenty of characters.
There you go.
I also wanted to make known to staff, there have been complaints about Fifth Street. If we could ask staff to go meet with those businesses, their sales have been lower and they haven't had dine-in services. So for the ones that don't have delivery, they're suffering because of the traffic. So maybe we could just go and talk to them. I'd also gotten complaints. I've been told that Mr. Lindeman got the same complaints about the owl. It's crooked and a lot of people can't hear us. So maybe we could look into that. I also wanted to just clarify a comment that was made about me last meeting during the budget. It was said that I did something inappropriate by wanting to amend the budget. And I just want to make clear that when we have meetings, they're open for discussion. The items are open for discussion. We could accept them, we could reject them, or we could change them. Saying that wanting to amend something in an open meeting as inappropriate, I don't think it's honest and it's not democratic, especially when they say it's the day of the budget's going to pass, it's too late. And then not even 30 minutes before that, we had a public hearing for the public to come out here and give their opinion on the budget, on what we should do, we should change or take out. So I just wanted to make that clear that that accusation against me, I don't think was right. And I just wanted to clarify those statements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grijalva. Mr. Costa, please.
Yes, hi. Thank you, Ms. Urquijo, for bringing up Energize Douglas. And I was very happy to see Mr. Quinones here today. Like he mentioned, he calls it injecting vitality to Douglas. It's all the same. And it's not a phrase that I have coined. Anybody can use it. We need to energize our community, inject vitality, whatever it is that you want to call it. We just need to be involved and we need to get out there. Our Energize Douglas events will be taking a little hiatus in the next couple of months, just because I think as a pilot, we saw the potential of it, but I really do want to get together with the businesses and any other stakeholders with common suggestions. I mean, this is for the businesses. It's your guys's opportunity to come together and suggest or morph it into what works for everybody. So with that being said, please, anybody that's available to come out this Saturday to the Casa de la Cultura event. I believe it starts at 6. I don't have the flyer in front of me, but yeah, 6 p.m. And the address is 349 East 9th Street. I say this all the time. We have such a unique culture here. Where else in the world do we have two countries that are so close together, not just geographically, obviously geographically, but in the way we do things, the way we speak, the way we live. Nowhere else in this world will you find that. We're unique. We need to realize that and learn why we're so unique so that we can show everybody that comes to visit and that we talk to from other places in the world. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Grijalva, for being Mario. I wish I would have taken my 4-year-old, but every time he sees me in a dress, he calls me Princess Peach. So I can be your Princess Peach next time we dress up as Mario Brother characters.
It's on record.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lindeman, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that I had a very fine opportunity to attend the roundtable with Governor Hobbs
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Anyone else? Ms. Morales?
I don't know what to report, but I just wanted to mention that yesterday was the mayor's birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's it truly is a blessing to be here. For my birthday. Mr. Bonanegro took care of my mañanitas. No, thank you.
We have a volunteer here. Started off. Come on, Diana.
What?
Happy
birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mayor. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I do admit I'm 64. So it's great to be here when I'm 64 for those Beatle fans. Anyone else like to comment? Mr. Shelton, please.
You know, we went to Washington and we went there to work and to have business. And even Luis back there, he was there, and Mr. Ramirez. We talked to congressmen, we talked to heads of Border Patrol and Customs and who's in charge of the wall and where the money's coming from. And we left a very, I think a very positive impression with all the congressmen we talked to and all of the people we talked to. And we were received very graciously, and you could tell they were listening to us. And our mayor did an exceptional job of explaining to each of these entities what the wants and the needs are in our community. And I would like to thank him for being our representative and presenting all of these. And so happy birthday. And we did good, we did great. We got to go maybe to one half of the art museum, and then Margaret and I, just before we got on the plane, we got to see maybe half of the history museum, and that was it. We were there to do business for the city of Douglas, and I think it went quite well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton. Anyone else? Would like to elaborate a little bit. Did have the opportunity to be invited to make a presentation to the binational border and bridges crossing between Mexico and the United States, held at the State Department, which is always interesting experience to get in there. But you see the setup, and it's a little, for a small town boy like me, it was a little bit intimidating to see people there and see how it works and this, that, and the other. But felt very comfortable in being able to make the presentation with the help of Mr. Ramirez, and also knowing that I had the support of the community. And that means a lot. You know, this council has been very instrumental in setting a vision. In 2022, when I wasn't feeling that well, they all got together and created a vision for 2032 for Douglas. And this is a very big part of it. And we left that packet that we have with our vision. If you'd hold it up, Mr. Kiko, real quick, we left that states our vision for the community that this council came up with. I was able to say a few words at the beginning of the sessions, and they went to work very hard. And I don't think I've ever told them in a meeting how thankful I am, because when I got the report back and saw what they came up with, it was outstanding. It was amazing. And I thought to myself, I'm glad I wasn't there to get in the way, because I mean, they did fantastic, and I wholeheartely endorse it. And you know, it includes the downtown, and it includes our economic development, our port of entry. It's just, it was a great vision to see what's out there. And so with that in mind, it makes it easier to make to these presentations, to know that we're united for the betterment of Douglas. And it makes a difference. We were talked about. There was smiles and head nodding and going on during that meeting, and some of the other presentations, I mean, they were flat out told that ain't gonna happen. I know, it was like, wow. But we were very well received, and again, you know, stated that, you know, the support, they were excited to see what was happening here, that we're on the radar, and it was great to see. And I appreciate Mr. Shelton being kind and thanking me for making the presentations, but I felt all of you there with me and all of you there with me while we're doing that, because it's important. We want a better Douglas. I understand we disagree sometimes on the way to get there, but I think we all want a better Douglas, and we're going to get there. I have no doubt in my mind that we're going to get there. We have exciting things going on to do that. So we reached 8 o'clock, which means that's the pumpkin hour for this council. So item number 12, adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Mayor,
Ms. Morales,
I move to adjourn.
is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Morales, second by Mr. Lindeman to adjourn the meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We stand adjourned at 8:02.